Hi, so if your bridge comes off, and of course the music stores are probably closed right now and you're not going to be able to put your own bridge on, I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on how to put a bridge back on and what to look for. So students, if you feel comfortable doing this, that's fine. Otherwise, if you're a younger student, you might feel more comfortable if your parent put the bridge back on. Just be sure and have them watch this video. So first of all, make sure that the strings are loose, so when you turn these pegs, you want to turn them counterclockwise. So you're going to turn them towards you. Actually, that looks like clockwise to me. Did I do that wrong?
Well, if you're looking at the peg, it's going counterclockwise. If you're looking at the end of the peg.
Okay. So you want to turn the peg so that the strings are loose. So if the instrument is facing you, you're going to turn the pegs towards you like this, but just make sure that they're loose enough that you can get the bridge back on, but not so loose that the whole thing is flopping around and the bridge is going to move a bunch. Okay? All right. So if you look at the bridge, and if it's cut properly, there's a flat side and there's a curvy side. All right? The curvy side, the curvy side's going to go towards the scroll up here, and the flat side is going to go down here towards the fine tuners and the tailpiece. Okay. Another way that for me I can tell is that the higher the string, the bridge is going to be lower, because the bridges, if they're cut properly, are going to line up with the curvature of the end of your fingerboard. So every bridge is cut supposedly to fit this instrument. Now, of course, when you get a school instrument, sometimes that's not always the case. But if it's been done properly, then that should be the case. That, again, the curvature of the bridge is going to fit the curvature of the end of your fingerboard. Okay.
In other words, the low side of the bridge is going to go toward the highest or smallest string.
Correct. Okay, so we're just going to very carefully slide this back on. Okay. Several things that you need to know.
Would you do that one more time? Because I had it at a funny angle. Now try it.
Sure, okay. So
she's putting it flat, and she's kind of getting the strings close to those notches, and then she's just going to slide it where it's upright.
Okay. Now, if you're doing this correctly, the bridge is going to be perpendicular to the top of the instrument. I know it's not in the right place just yet, but you want to make sure that that bridge is perpendicular. In other words, it makes T. Okay? It makes a T. There's a reason there's notches right here. This is why they're called F holes, because they look like the shape of an F instead of an S. That F is a very important component of that, because this is where that bridge is supposed to sit. You're going to line up, now correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. J, you're going to line up the feet of the bridge
in between those two cutouts.
In between the two little cutouts. Just like this.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times you can see where spots on the cello or the instrument where the bridge feet were before, and as long as they're pretty close, it'll be okay.
Right. Okay, so once you get that on there and lined up, the next thing you're going to do is look down the end of the fingerboard, and you want there to be an equal distance between the string and the fingerboard on both sides. So in other words, there should be equal amount of spacing on this side and equal amount of spacing on this side. You don't want it to be...
So you're saying to center the strings with the fingerboard.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing that I do is very carefully tighten the pegs to the... I go ahead and I do the outside ones first. You can do the inside ones first if you want, but it's important not to go from left to right or right to left. You need to put equal pressure either here on these middle two strings or equal pressure here on the outside strings. That way, because if you tried to do it all one way, then the bridge is going to move on you. Okay? So I've got it lined up where I want it. And I'm going to start with the low string, which is the C string, and just get it where it it makes sound and it's not loose. Okay, just get it where it's not floppy, okay? Then I'm gonna do the same thing with the high string. Just get it to where it's not floppy. Okay? All right. Again,
Now
recheck.
she's got the two outside and she's making sure that it's still centered.
At this point, you may have to readjust perpendicular, which I do, okay? Because once you move those, it'll move the bridge a little bit. So when you do that, grab a hold
Use both hands.
and very gently push this way, back down to make it perpendicular, okay? So now I'm gonna work on the two inside strings.
She's going to tighten those up just a little bit. Again, just so that they make sound and there's a little bit of tension on the bridge. Not a whole lot.
Okay, my A string kind of slipped, so I'm gonna go back over here. Now mind you, we're just getting it just enough so that it holds the bridge on.
Yeah, we're not trying to completely tune it
Right.
yet.
Now we're gonna readjust one more time, just a little bit. Again, put it on the floor. And I'm gonna have to move the bridge over just a little bit this way.
Kind of move it so they can, there we go.
Perf.
See what you're doing there.
You also wanna make sure that these feet are flat to the top of the instrument. So you might wanna check that too.
That's where it's important to have a good luthier cut your bridges because bridge blanks don't come cut at all and the feet do not fit.
Doesn't look like
Is
it's
it
sitting
not
on
on the saddle?
It's not sitting on the saddle correctly.
Oh, well, we'll fix it later.
Okay. All right. So now that you've got the bridge on and you should be ready to tune. So for those of you who know how to do pegs, which is all my 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders, just start with one string at a time. Should I pull up the tuner so they can hear it? Do you know how to get to my tuner on my device? Or Mr. J will just play an A for you. Well, I don't need the A, but they need the A. Kind of get it close. Okay, now we're going to go to the C, the low one.
Notice she's pushing in while she's turning. Pushing it in after you turn it doesn't do any good at all.
No, it's like a screw and not a hammer nails, as I tell my students. You don't try to cram it all in at the same time. You have to twist it in. You have to twist that wood into the hole to make it work.
Twist and cram, just like the Beatles song.
Yes. So push here, push here. Now, I highly recommend you do this with a tuner. I don't need it, but you probably will. It's also, again, important when you're tuning an instrument that's completely out of tune to go to the two outside ones and then the two inside ones, again, because the bridge is going to move.
And tune it just a little bit at a time. You don't want to try to get it all the way up to the right pitch because then when you tune the other side, it messes up the side you just
Right.
finished. It's a balancing act.
One more time, I'm going to check to see if my perpendicular is good. Looks pretty good. So now my instrument should be playable. Okay.
All right,
Now we're
now,
going to do the same thing on the
all right.
smaller instrument.
Here, let me do this one and you man the camera.
Okay.
Can you see it okay?
Yes.
All right, so here is this viola, and the bridge has fallen off. And first thing we're going to do is determine which side is which. So the best way to do it, like we said before, is to look and see which side of the curve is lower. And the lower side of the curve,
Hang on. Do that one more time. Hold it up.
the lower side of the curve over here is going to go toward the smaller or higher pitched string. The high side of the curve toward the lowest pitched string or the largest string. Okay, same thing is on the cello. I'm going to loosen the string. Oh, crap.
There with the. So this is also a danger if you
if your bridge falls off. You probably heard that little clicking noise.
Well,
You
they
want-
heard me say, "Oh crap!"
Shake it around a bit. Hear that? That's called the sound post.
If the sound post falls, stop. Take it to a luthier when the music stores are open again.
Right, but they'll have to have it at least playable, so this is
Yeah.
kind of an emergency situation. Well, it happens.
I know. I'm just thinking about money. Okay, so I've loosened the strings a little bit. Again, they're not floppy, so I know which side the bridge goes. The lower side goes toward the A string or the small string. I'm going to slide it under here, and I'm going to use my thumb and my index finger. My thumb against the feet, index finger against the top of the bridge, and I'm just going to kind of stand it up.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time finding you.
Should I do that again?
Yes, please. Now I'm wondering why I'm
You want
using.
to take the camera off, and
Yes.
there's the red thingy there.
Do I just do this?
Push the red thingy back.
And it'll come off?
Push it the other way. There you go. Got the red thing.
Okay, there we
There
go.
you go. All right, tell me when you're good.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so here it goes. You slide it under here. And I'm just going to kind of stand it up like this.
I'm sorry, I got choked.
Now, this is a little easier to mess with than the cello because it's smaller. And you can kind of see where the feet were before, and they're lined up between those two notches in the F holes, so I'm going to put it right back there. And I'm looking at the fingerboard to see if it's lined up, and it's not. So I'm going to move it over so that the strings are centered on the fingerboard. There you go. And I like to brace my hands against the bouts of the instrument so that it just gives me a little more leverage when I push around on that bridge. Now the next thing I'm going to do is look and make sure that the bridge is perpendicular to the strings.